What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our SEC football channel.
We got Lon Phillips Sullivan on the line. You can join him on LSU Odyssey.
How's it going?
It's going pretty well. How are you, sir?
It's been a weird 3 games, hasn't it, Mark?
Well, it's been a weird 3 games going on 4 games now, or not a 4th game, but a 4th week that's even weirder than the first 3. So how can you explain that? We have you on here to bring some perspective to all this mess that includes losses to Missouri, 600-plus yards given up through the air to KJ Costello, and now, of course, unfortunately, no game coming up this week.
It's just shocking. I mean, we've gone from being one of the most unlucky teams, Derek Stingley the night before the game, all these just mountains of opt-outs, even injuries, suspensions, a lot of self-caused, a lot of shooting ourselves in the foot, so to speak. And then we go to being extremely lucky, I feel, to having this game postponed. Miles Brennan with a left shoulder injury, he was doubtful after he looked fantastic going on for, I think, the 3rd straight game. Only one real bad pick of consequence, only 5 yards off of Joe Burrow's 2019 totals through first 3 games against vastly better competition. Same number of touchdowns as Burrow. The 2 picks, and he has 2 more picks than Joe Burrow had at the time, but as we saw against Mississippi State, one of those was from his elbow being hit right when he's about to hit Racey McMouth wide open for a touchdown, which could have changed that game. And the Missouri interception was really bad, but other than that, Miles Brennan has looked fantastic. He's delivered, I think, actually more than the hype of which we gave him. But the defense, I was on your show nonstop hyping this defense, and we felt that Bo Pelini was the perfect hire. We felt it was, not just Pelini, what he would bring, but already the assistants who were there. And I'm not ready to give up on Pelini just yet. I'm not as part of the, fire Pelini right now movement. But Pelini has to show me some changes. He has to show me that he can evolve. There were hardly any rotations along the linebacker front. You just had Damone Clark, Jabril Cox out there the entire game. They were huffing and puffing. That's why they couldn't keep up with the crossing routes. It was just missed assignments, blown coverages left and right. It was not an LSU defense, but more than anything, if the defense is supposed to be like their defensive coordinator, they're supposed to take on the identity of that coordinator. That was not a Bo Pelini defense. We're supposed to see the fire, the passion, give up a lot of points, give up a lot of yards, whatever. We've seen it in the past with Pelini's defenses, but there was always this passion, this extremity, this intensity that won us the game. And that was lacking big time against Mississippi State and Missouri. And we just got by against Vanderbilt because Vanderbilt are utter crap. But against Mississippi State, it was shocking. The profligate defense in the coverage. It was horrible. And then against Missouri, I mean, Connor Razalik, that is just unacceptable. That is not – Missouri doing that 45-41. And yet still – with saying all of that, LSU actually had a chance to win all 3 games. We won the turnover battle. We're actually leading the SEC in turnover margin, 3rd in the nation in turnover margin, forced and recovered 5 fumbles, 3 interceptions, defensive touchdown, tons and tons of pressures and sacks. But we could not duplicate that pressure for a 3rd game against Missouri. Besides the Ojulari strip sack, we couldn't see it. That guy he sat back there and just destroyed us, just ripped us to shreds. And you can't put it on the players. Here's the thing. What I saw out there was miscommunications leading to these errors. That's completely on the coaches, completely 100%. If Pelini doesn't get this straight, he could be out of a job after one season back at LSU. And that would be a sad thing to see, but hey, that was not an LSU defense. That was inexcusable. It has to get better. Losing to Mississippi State, Missouri, before we've even played Florida. 2 losses are on the board. Our path to the CFP, I think it's still there, just by a shred of a doubt. Just by a shred of a chance. We will have to beat Alabama. They'll have to lose to Georgia. then maybe we have to beat a one-loss Georgia team in the SEC title game to get in. It will have to take 2020 craziness for it to happen. But it's 2020. Why not? Miles Brennan, he's good enough to deliver that. But concerning the Florida game, I am very, very pleased to see the postponement, to be honest, with some of the injuries, some of the personnel changes that Coach Orgeron alluded to that were coming in the days to come. And of course, not having a starting quarterback, having some freshmen out there against Florida, Kyle Trask and that number 10 angry Florida Gators team who are going to be wanting to avenge that A&M loss. I really didn't like our chances.
LSU Florida canceled. The game has been rescheduled tentatively, of course, for December 12th. That is the week before the SEC championship game, one that LSU won over Georgia last year, but they've got a whole lot of work to do after losing to Mizzou and against a Mississippi State, a schedule that we looked at preseason and thought, okay, the Alabamas and the Auburns and the Floridas come later, and of course Texas A&M as well, and LSU will be able to break in all that young, inexperienced talent against the likes of Mississippi State, Vandy, and Missouri, but here they sit at 1-2. So you talk about the transition from Dave Aranda, who apparently took that defense with him to Waco, and Bo Pelini. Are they talking about effort? Are they talking about scheme issues? Or they talk what seems to be getting most of the blame here?
What we're hearing that the team has actually been working on the last few days in practice, and actually since the Mississippi State debacle, they've been trying to work on all of that. It's a little bit of everything. It's effort, it's scheme, it's personnel. We're not usually using the right rotations. We're not pulling people out of the game at the right time. We're not using the right mix, a combination of players. I feel like, just for instance, Apu Ika and Jaquelin Roy, my bad. Jaquelin Roy and Siaki Ika, those two together would be absolutely devastating in the middle, and we never saw those two used, ever. Jaquelin Roy absolutely ran the Vanderbilt game as a freshman. B.J. Ojolari coming off the edge and Ali Guy, we hardly saw that tandem. We only just saw Ali Guy, and there was times he was even a defensive tackle. But we're not just really, the point of emphasis has to be the linebacking crew. I mean, that was supposed to be something that was a big worrying sign, but then once Devontae Lee was switched over from receiver, once we got Jabril Cox in the transfer portal, once Damone Clark was given the number 18, and more people came to know of his improved ability, especially last year. He had 50 tackles off the bench and he played in every game when we won the national title. Massive experience, massive talent, but for some weird reason they're just taking the wrong angles on tackles. They're almost gassed when they get there. I think it has to do with conditioning. I think it has to do with effort and practice, and the buck stops with Coach Orgeron. He understands that. And I feel that, we've heard that his best coaching performance was actually this last week, what we heard, what he's been able to translate to the team, what he's been able to get, or what response he's been able to get from the players. We still have to see that on the field, of course. I mean, I can't sit here and make excuses and pound my chest about 2019 anymore. The future is now. And Coach Orgeron has to prove to everybody right now. He doesn't have to prove it to me. He doesn't have to prove it to LSU fans. But he has to prove it to people right now who are questioning whether he is the coach who can actually challenge Saban in the SEC, who can actually bring LSU and that national brand, not beyond a national brand, but to national title, contention every single season, whether we're losing people to the draft or not, whether we have injuries or suspensions, or whether we're losing a big quarterback or a running back or not. And I don't know.
Yeah, certainly a rough start at 1-2, unexpected. Many people expected a decline with all the NFL talent departing. I don't think we would count you as one of them, Lon. You were certainly optimistic, and that's understandable with so much 4- and 5-star talent on the roster. But again, 1-2 against teams that they were heavily favored against. So looking forward, Who are some of those players that you've seen here in the first few weeks that we wouldn't necessarily be that familiar with, considering that we only had 2 or 3 starters back on offense and defense, that have stood out to you?
Oh, of course, Ollie Gay. I mean, beginning with big number 11. I mean, I really feel he could opt out right now and have a chance at being at least a second, third round pick. 6'6", 255, 3 pass deflections against Mississippi State. He should have caught that and took it to the house on one of them. His pressures and sacks and his influence has kind of slowed down, especially in the game against Missouri. But Allie Gay was 10 out of 10. I mean, incredible, affecting the game at will, creating turnovers. He had a fumble recovery against Missouri, so he wasn't completely ineffective. BJ Ojolari had a strip sack. I've been repping this guy. Did an interview with him on our site, LSUodyssey.com. He's been fantastic. I really think he needs to see the field more. Jaquelin Roy at defensive tackle. That's someone who absolutely took over the Vanderbilt game, which was his, big coming out party. He didn't really play much against Mississippi State, but he came in and just absolutely controlled against Vanderbilt. And I really think he's an absolute monster. We got to see him play. Eli Ricks, 2 interceptions. There were some blown coverages, but at the same time, I won't put that on Eli. He's a freshman. He's been thrown right into the fire, and 2 interceptions, one of which could have completely changed the game against Mississippi State. I have to put him on the list. He's been incredible. Also, Miles Brennan, I mean, you can't say enough about his performance, how gutty he was. I mean, he could barely even throw the football, and here he was, goes out there, slings it around for 435 yards. 2 plays after he injured his shoulder, he threw a touchdown to Terrace Marshall as he's rolling to his right, gets hit on that left shoulder again as he's driven into the ground, hangs in there, makes a brilliant throw. He hung in there. He has LSU fans' ultimate respect. If they were doubting him after week 1, if they were sighing after his week 2 performance, well, they were cheering at his week 3 triumph. They were all in after what he accomplished against Missouri, and even it's just sad that it was in defeat. The other thing is he was 0 for 11 on third down. We have to get that together. 9 for 40 in 3 games. He's got to clean that up. I feel he's going to. I feel like Miles Brennan is a huge strength of this team. Him and Terrace Marshall are basically carrying this team. Terrace Marshall, 11 catches, 235 yards, 3 touchdowns, 21 yards per catch, 75-yard long bomb. He has 17 red zone touchdown catches out of his 20 touchdown catches total in his LSU career. He is a red zone assassin, but more than that, he's proven he can take it to the house from long. Terrace Marshall, he's just made himself a first-round draft pick.
After giving up more points than at any point through 3 games in LSU history, the Tigers, of course, won't be on the field this Saturday. That game's been canceled against Florida. We expect them to be back at it in Death Valley against South Carolina, October 24th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time start. Lon Philip Sullivan from LSU Odyssey. We invite everyone to join him and all that they've got going on over there in tracking the defending national champions. Lon, we appreciate you stopping by. Enjoy some other football, I guess, this weekend and get ready for those Gamecocks.
Please, Georgia, whoop up on Alabama. Go Tigers. Everybody subscribe, LSUodyssey.com. We got some great interviews. Ty Davis Price interview, Ojolari interview. We've got it all coming. Go Tigers, baby. Thank you, Mark.